We are live now. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome everyone to managing mental health and coping with during COVID-19 part 2, mental health. Welcome back to my channel. Of course, I'm Natasha and everyone knows me. I do mental health. That's my specialty, trauma. Today I have a very, very special guest, my sacred sister, Dr. Latoya Brooks. Get it correct. Sis, please introduce yourself, what you do, and who you are.
So I am an assistant professor in MSW Program for social work at Johnson C. Smith University. So excited for my HBCU experience. And I have years of being a mental health practitioner, licensed clinical social worker in relationship to sexuality, relationships, infertility, sexual addiction, trauma, depression, anxiety. So that's what I do. And who I am, I'm a sacred woman practitioner with Queen Afua and a Reiki practitioner / Reiki master and a hypnotherapist.
Amazing, amazing, sis. And we all know this is very trying times for everyone. How are you doing, and how's your family doing with everything going on right now?
This has been unbelievable. It's been really hard. It's like being in a movie, watching it and happening in slow motion. And I'm from New York City, but I live in South Carolina. So the impact is different on a daily basis where, it's sunny out, the trees are green, we can still go for a walk. We just recently got more of a stay-at-home order. So we're one of the last states. And so I'm kind of distanced from it in that aspect of like just my day to day, but my family is in New York and in New Orleans and in Pennsylvania and DC. And so I have family members who are impacted, family members who have experiences and some deaths related to it. So it's a lot going on.
Yeah, so a lot going on mentally, physically, and spiritually that we
Financially, emotionally.
yes. So do you still have to like work online and so forth? Because I know you're a professor.
Yes, so we're still working from home, working online, and so adjusting to that moment. And luckily, we have 2 more weeks left of this semester.
Oh wow!
And then we will move into graduation. So I'm excited for that.
Wow, 2 more weeks. Okay. So what can you tell the people, I guess, on your experience, like your experience in the mental health field? What is it that you're hearing right now from people when they come on to mental health that they're experiencing?
Most people, including myself, we're feeling shock, we're feeling numb. People are also feeling detached. We're dealing with a time that we can see that we're social creatures as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can also see that how easily and quickly our lives can be put online and that we can be confined to our homes. And so with that, we can't really spend time with our friends. People are having issues with physical touch. People are talking about dating in the quarantine. People are talking about depression and anxiety and managing that. Whether or not people are feeling hope or hopelessness. People are talking about, starting their new careers in the quarantine and, what's their purpose. And other people are deciding, is it okay to take a break, or do we have to be super productive during this time period? And, when will this be over?
Right.
Afraid, fear,
Mm-hmm.
depression, a myriad of, anxiety, all of those things.
Yeah. Can definitely relate to everything, the fear, the anxiety, a lot of mixed emotion, the fear, the anxiety, the hope, hope also, I would say, the panic, especially when you go outside, like you said, it looks like a movie. Like people are walking around with masks, gloves. Some people are wearing like the suits and stuff. So I can only imagine, like, especially like little kids seeing that, like the panic they must be feeling also. So it's like everywhere in the atmosphere right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I know a lot of things are going on. So I guess what we want to talk about first, we talk about symptoms. Last time we talked about symptoms. What are some symptoms that you think people may be to know their symptoms? Like, what are some symptoms when it comes on to anxiety, the depression that you can say that people may be, how it would show up for the people that are experiencing that?
So symptoms related to anxiety may be shortness of breath, panic attacks, feeling like you're not able to breathe. You may feel like you have constant thoughts of worry or thoughts that go in a loop and you can't get rid of them. You may feel overly tired because you're just feeling on edge most of the day. You may have a desire to be super overly productive in that, to manage that anxiety. And you may also, besides the shortness of breath, you may have the panic attacks or not be able to breathe. And also, to some degree, you may have an irritable mood. So those are some symptoms related to anxiety that people may be experiencing.
Right.
Difficulty sleeping, definitely, and insomnia.
Right.
And so a lot of people may be experiencing that because the days are starting to run together.
Right. Right. I can definitely relate. It's no joke because it's like you have this whole day. And
the whole day into the night. And I know for myself, I initially, and this what month is this now?
Month 2?
April. So this is April, and in March when we got sent home, I mean, I had my first panic attack in a long time. I was up all night, just awake, like what's going on? And I had to give myself permission to have that moment, like fall apart, be upset, and then
right
on Monday, I was like, okay, so this is what's happening. I'm going to breathe, take some deep breaths, light my incense, calm myself down, go for a walk, and just focusing on being okay right now.
Right. No, it's powerful to know that, everybody struggles. Nobody's immune to this thing. We're healers and we're struggling. We're struggling just like everybody else. We're going through the motion like everyone else. A big thing we can talk about is grief. A lot of people experience grief. And grief it can turn into depression if it's not, I would say, manage health in a healthy way.
You're breaking up, sis.
I'm breaking up. I would say we can talk about is grief. A lot of people may be experiencing grief. Not only grief, and it doesn't have to be grief. People are dying. Grief can also be grief of what was the life we had before. Grief of a relationship. I can relate to that. I'm going through grief right now with that. Just grief of what was before, like when this thing started, a lot of us was in like denial, like, oh, but it goes to a leader, the country, the president, like, Corona, what? That's not impacting us. So we always in denial. And then we go to the anger, the bargaining, the depression. And now it's like this thing we have to accept it. Like, how do we accept this thing that's happening and still prepare and still maneuver through it? So what can you say about that grief? And like a lot of people
let's go back with this cycle. So we may start off, like you said, with this shock and disbelief. And I think that may be where lots of us are on so many different levels. So, like I said, I'm in a whole nother different state. So I think I'm constantly in this moment of shock and belief every day. And so many of us may be there, and that's why you see people going out and still being able to thinking that it's okay to protest, because they're still in shock and disbelief. Like, oh, there's nothing going on. There's nothing happening, especially if their state is not drastically impacted like other states are. So they may be in that moment of still shock and disbelief of what's going on. Then being in denial. So like you said, this is not really going on. This is not that bad. This will be over next week. We can open up and start back to work as normal next week or on Easter or May 1st, right? Because we're in denial of what's really happening, that no one has answers. This is new for the majority of us.
Right.
And so we only have history to go back and archive and see how we handled things in the past, but we have no knowledge of how to deal with this particular virus. So we're constantly, I guess, searching for information and listening to things. So we may also be on information overload in relationship to all of this. I follow the CDC page and I look at my state's rates and what's going on, but it can be overwhelming. Bargaining. So maybe if I do this, then this will happen. Maybe guilt from either not doing some of the things that you wanted to do, or the health. And so I know that initially I had guilt that I didn't go and get my family and bring them down here, but that's kind of absurd. I mean, they still have to work as well. And, hindsight being 2020, yes, I would have gone to get them, but who knew? We didn't know what was going to happen. And so people may be having guilt. People have guilt about, the loss of people who are actually passing and you can't get to their funeral. Guilt related to relationships, how they're ending or beginning, And then as we think about depression, so symptoms of depression, you may have the desire to sleep all day, being listless, being tired. Suicidal ideations, loss of hope is a big thing. So we talked about hope at the beginning, but loss of hope, like this is hopeless. Not being able to see something positive in this moment. You may lose interest in all the things that were of interest to you. Your sex drive may decrease. You may start to eat more. Your appetite may increase or decrease related to all of this. And so we're at home, and if we have food in the house, a lot of us are eating. There's lots of posts about people saying, after this is over, my 600-pound life. I'm going to be 600 pounds when this is over.
The emotional eating.
The emotional eating, or, just have a loss of appetite in relationship to all of this. We don't really feel like eating. This is overwhelming and too much. And so we may experience those symptoms as well. And at some point, maybe we can get to a place of acceptance of hope and hope related to what's going on and what that looks like, and how do you make meaning for yourself individually about what this is going to look like for, when this is all over. What do you hope occurs for yourself? So we're probably all in a state of grief, because none of this is going to be like what we knew before. So I think
we're all going through the stages.
I know when you mentioned about the masks, I'm a person who likes to wear masks when we go on planes and travel and things like that, just because I'm just always worried about germs. And I didn't have any. And I wasn't one of the people who went to go get toilet paper, because, every time there's an emergency, they're like, you need bread, milk, egg, flour, sugar.
I didn't think that, but okay.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about toilet paper. And so we're like, okay, we couldn't find toilet paper for weeks. We just got some another like roll. We have to go and find some more. And, you know, the week when they were saying, oh, you don't need to wear masks, you don't need to have anything, you don't need anything. And then the next week we go out and it's like the zombie apocalypse. Everyone is in some mask or a bandana. And I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't have medical expertise, but I don't know that we're going to be able to go without at least a mask in public for a while. So, you know, what does this all look like? We, as Black women, have been having this conversation about hair, and someone had a petition going around for hair salons to be seen as essential businesses. And, you know, I'm like, well, I'm so happy I got my hair done before all of this unknowingly. Right. But I don't know that. I mean, I had gel nails on at the beginning of this, and I picked it off because I'm like, well, I'm not going to get my nails done, so I have to do without. And you know, not going to get my hair done or my eyebrows microbladed. I had to cut my appointment. They're closed anyway, and so people are dealing with self-esteem issues. You know, people are talking about, oh, my spouse or my partner hasn't ever seen me without makeup before.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, how do we examine and find our true selves in this moment without all of the extra stuff?
Right.
This is really, if you take an opportunity to look at this moment and be in what this is about, I mean, it's stripping everything away. You're either forced to deal with yourself if you live alone. You're forced to deal with your partner and your mate and your family if you have people living with you. And you might be looking at your partner like, do I even like them anymore?
Right.
Or having to learn through how to communicate because you're spending so much time having to work with children and see your kid. And now, you know, the teachers were the ones taking care of your kid. And you're having to see what it's like when they go to school. And so even thinking about the food that we prepare and what we're doing, I know we were a household that was always commuting and eating fast food. Well, you might be an essential business, but I don't know what you're doing. So that means I have to cook my own food. Mm-hmm. And so it's like we're going back to times where you need to know how to cook. You know how to sew and make things. And I'm from a generation where my generation had just stopped learning about home ec in schools and how to sew and how to do all that. So I don't know how to do that. And then also having this conversation around being super productive and feeling like, you know, if you don't come out, you know, there's been memes all around. If you don't come out like Shakespeare and have written your new novel, then you've wasted your time, or it wasn't time that you didn't have. It wasn't discipline. Well,
right. Or you're being lazy.
I mean, there are moments where I can be super productive and doing different things. And then there's moments where I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Right.
And if I allow outside influences to dictate my productivity, then I might suffer from depression and anxiety because of that need. And so for myself, continuing to be in my purpose is important to me. So,
right. And I don't know what everybody else should look.
Right. No one can tell you what that's supposed to look like in this moment.
Right.
Because, you know, no one knows. And then just thinking about how do we connect with people while we're going through this. So it's like, you know, what is it? Social distancing, but, you know, it's not really, we're not distancing our social activities, but we're doing physical distancing, really.
Right.
And I think I'll speak for myself, just connecting with friends and people and family. We've been doing more Zoom meetings. We've been doing more FaceTime, Duo, all the things so that we can keep up with each other and still feel safe. And we did actually have people come to visit us, and someone actually hugged me, and then they apologized later for it, and because they were like, we're supposed to be practicing social distancing. And I'm like, well, I mean, you've been in my house, you've eaten dinner, so I mean, we have a human need to connect. So I mean, hug me. So there's the hug. I mean, what do you do? That's our need, especially, if you live alone or aren't partnered, our bodies, we still have the skin hunger that still need to be touched. And how do we get that? How do we do that when we're told not to really be in contact with people?
Right.
Figuring out what you can do to substitute that need, because there's nothing that can take that need away. But people have been talking about using weighted blankets, and it feels like a warm hug, or, heating pads and things like that, just to get that kind of touch. So.
No, definitely. Thank you for that. Because I can relate to someone that lives alone, and I don't have any family that's close by or anyone I can visit. Not that I would visit, because I can't visit them because of what's going on right now. And it's very tough. It's very tough living alone. It's very tough not having, I don't have a partner. So it's also very tough to, like, now I'm forced to be isolated, even though I'm an introvert, but still that feeling that you don't have anyone that you can connect with on a physical level, just to touch or just to be with someone, it's depressing sometimes. I'm gonna own that. And I have a weighted blanket, but that was before this. Because I do experience anxiety and insomnia, and my weighted blanket really, I'm telling you, when you put that 20-pound blanket on you, it feels so good. I've been using that, which before all of this, and just the big thing about staying connected. So you have my safety network, my safety people that I stay connected to, friends, family, and we do the best we can and honor whenever those uncomfortable or hard feelings come up. You be with them and reach out to somebody or find ways to soothe yourself. And it can look like, as you talked before, it looks different for everybody. For me, I'm a music head. I also I'm a mental health therapist, but I also do have my own therapist. It looks like the food I'm eating. It looks, we can talk all day what that looks like, and we can get into coping. Like, what are some things now that people can be doing to cope? Because it's very hard times.
Well, most therapists are doing telehealth, doing virtual work. Most therapists are either doing it through Zoom or through some other platform. And most therapists may take insurance or may offer a sliding scale. So going to Psychology Today will be helpful to find a therapist. Going to Black Therapists Rock, I believe, Google it, and and find a therapist of color if that's something that you're looking for. Or another group is called Clinicians of Color. There's BetterHealth.com that's offering a telehealth platform or texting platform, chat platform. Doctors on Demand offers therapy. What's the other one? I
know
Talkspace, and some other one. And then I'm in North Carolina, so we have Mind Path Care Centers that offers telehealth. So there's options for you to find a therapist who can do virtual work with you to help you in this moment if you want a licensed professional. And there's other, people are doing Reiki at a distance. and pranic healing at a distance. And so a lot of things are online. Exercise classes are online. There's a resource that's going on that's free. They're showing different groups that are doing free classes. I think the Y was also doing free classes online. If you Google like virtual field trips, there, you can see various parks and various museums for free that may be soothing. There have been many different Instagram DJ parties online.
Yes.
To help uplift spirits, you can always journal, document what's going on each day. That, your writings during this moment, or our video blogs, or even, something like we're doing is documenting what's actually occurring during this pandemic. And so it'll be a part of the archive of history, like, what was going on during that time period. Reaching out to people if you can, and for people who are introverted and such, and, didn't like to go out in the first place, there's always Facebook groups or chat groups that you can join and connect with people who are going through something similar, to talk about what's happening during the pandemic, but also just taking a moment to have silence. I think the last couple of days, there have been times where I've just been quiet, just sit outside and watch the trees and have quiet, or go for a walk and just take that in. And for myself, that was something that I didn't have time to do because I was just in a rush to go everywhere and then tired. Reaching out to family, like we said, if you have them, reaching out for friends, making your own new support network and building on that is helpful, is really helpful. Whatever hobbies you have, whatever, if you are an artist or a craft person, a dancer, this is a good time to get back into that as well. And find your joy in the midst of this time of uncertainty.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree anymore. A big thing also, knowing your stress, know what your triggers are, and listen to your body when you're stressed. Are important to know in these uncertain times, and also pay attention to things. Well, find things to ground yourself. And it looks very different for everyone. Meditation, the yoga, stretching, even just going for a walk, as simple as going for a walk. That can be.
If you are a person who reads the Bible, read the Bible or the Quran, or do your yogic practices, do your spiritual practices, and the spirit part is in you. And I think that's the issue, that people of whatever denomination that feel like their time is to do a protest by gathering and still spreading the virus and getting sick. Your faith, your spirit, your church, temple, altar is in you, in your house. So create that sacred space so that you're not looking to the outside to fulfill this need and to do a performative experience, but to perform it and say like, oh, look at what I'm doing, but there's no substance behind it. So outside of doing performative, also get grounded in the substantive aspects of being able to sit in your sacred space, whatever that looks like, and commune with your God of your understanding, or nature, or how you understand life.
No, that's powerful. And we can attest to that. What Queen Afua taught us, that we are the altar, we are the church, and everything. It's within us.
And I think that's important. You mentioned like doing those practices. That's, developing whatever that's going to be for you, and thinking about what does ground you. What does that look like? It can be something as simple as putting your feet into the earth with no shoes on, just putting your feet on the ground and getting connected to the earth. Taking just experiencing the sun hit your face.
Mm-hmm.
That may be what gives you joy for that day, especially when people feel hopeless. So a lot of times, therapists will say, write a gratitude journal, and people will say, like, I'm so low right now in my emotions, like I don't have anything to be grateful for. So this exercise you're having me do is really pointless. But, it can be something as mundane, like people who have pets. You might feel grateful that you have a pet, like you have a pet. You might feel grateful that the sun is shining, or that the weather is getting warmer, or that it's getting cooler, or
you open your eyes this morning.
Or you might feel grateful that you have toilet paper. I mean, it doesn't have to be a mind blowing thing, but just something that moves your mind, shifts your mind out of that space, even if it's just for a moment.
No, this is powerful. And it's gratitude. I'm telling you, that's one of my go-to tools. In all things, you give thanks.
Yeah. But sometimes people can't get there. And so, it's like you're forcing me to be grateful that I'm alive when I don't really care about being alive. Like, yeah, then be there. Like, I don't want to be alive. But since I'm here, I might as well do X. Since I'm here, I might as well, look at the flowers.
Right.
Not take a bath. Enjoy just being in your skin. Like that may just be it for the moment, because even though you and I both are therapists and we have lots of skills, as we're working with people who are in this moment, I can't tell you when this is going to be over.
Right.
Tell you that things are going to be better. I can't, people are now dealing with whether or not they're going to have a job tomorrow. So I can't say like, well, you'll find another job.
Right.
You know what this is going to look like later. But what I can say is, be in this moment now, be present in the moment that we're in, and look for opportunities of joy, of growth, of happiness as you can.
Right.
How we come out of this, it will be what was our perspective. So you and I have, we're talking about this. We've had deaths. I've had a death. My wedding is in uncertain grounds. I'm working from home and I'm grateful to have a job, but who knows what will happen. I also have family members who are ill just in general before all of this, or have compromised immune systems. So we don't know, but I'm going to enjoy them while I have them now. And I'm still going to plan my life. And if tomorrow I wake up and I'm like, you know what, I just want to lay in the bed and put the covers over my head, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
Give myself permission to do that, eat my chocolate bar, put the covers over my head, take a nap. And then tomorrow I'm going to push myself to do something else, go for a walk.
Right. No, that's very important to know when you need time off or to recharge and distance yourself, like physically, mentally, spiritually, from what's going on, and then come back in. And it's very important to know when to do that, especially what's going on, and especially also to think about today, moment by moment, hour by hour. I know a lot of us, we can attest to either living in the past or really planning so much for the future, but maybe this time is also forcing us to think about the present moment, to think about what's in our control and what is now, what's right in front of us now that we can control.
What can we control? And so, the conversations that I've been having with my family have been difficult. Like, do you have a will? Do you have a living will? Do you have a power of attorney? A healthcare proxy? Because we have those conversations, but I'm not married, I live with my partner, but if tomorrow something happens, I get sick and I have to go to the hospital, all of that kind of, that later stuff doesn't apply. So have the uncomfortable conversations about, all of that, making sure that you have a basic will, and there are forms online that you can get, making sure that you designate a healthcare proxy if you have to go to the hospital and what you might want to happen. Because right now, if you go into the hospital, you may be by yourself. And so
literally.
So we have to start putting together our affairs.
No, that's powerful. That's part of the grief stage of acceptance and planning for it, planning for what's happening.
Well, I mean, we're all going to die. So
right.
You have to plan. And so it's better to plan now while you have full awareness of your mortality. I mean, that's what I'm aware of. I'm fully aware of my mortality. If I wasn't before, it's like, what do my affairs look like? Have I communicated them to my family, either verbally, but more importantly, in writing?
Right.
And then live like today's, your last. I'm not telling people to just be reckless, but just be mindful and be aware.
Right.
That, with this, this becomes a responsibility of how do you want things to be, and for yourself and for your family, making sure things are covered. So we have to have that conversation because that's where we are.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. What about also on the other end too, in this time, a lot of people, maybe numb in a way. And when I say numb in a way, probably in alcohol, drugs, in the addiction. I heard that there was a increase in pornography that's going on right now. What are some advice you can give for those people that are they got a lot of time on their hands? Well, we all got a lot of time on our hands.
I mean, we all have a lot of time on our hands, and so, I mean, the issue with pornography is that we've always, since we've had the internet, we've always had an increasing use of pornography across the board. So now we're home, and I think Pornhub is offering free pornography. Now we have different access. And so I say, question what you're doing. So are you doing it because it's entertainment for this moment? Or are you doing it to numb out? Right? Because I mean, as a sexuality expert and researcher, I'm not going to tell someone that sex is wrong or bad or put this moral thing on it. Okay.
Absolutely.
But we also have to be aware of how does it negatively impact our life. So are you doing pornography to numb out, to escape, to not feel? Are you doing it to excessive amounts where you can't function and that's the only thing that's on your mind? Are you engaging in sexual relationships to numb out, to fill a void as well? I mean, you can talk about pornography, but people are also finding new and different ways to date within the quarantine or hook up or do whatever in the quarantine. I mean, we're social beings. We need some kind of contact, but what does this look like? Are you keeping yourself safe? So, I mean, I know people who are still going out to meet people that they're meeting online because they want to be able to have that connection. And, we're putting ourselves at different risks. Before we would say, we're putting ourselves at risk for a sexually transmitted infection. But now we're putting ourselves at risk to, just by breathing or coughing on someone, potentially catching a virus that could potentially impact our health and mortality, right? Because we know people are surviving as well. So that's the positive. People are surviving, you go through it and you survive, and that's fine. but there's also people who are dying from it. So thinking about how you connect. So maybe you connect with someone online, get to know them, have virtual fun, whatever that looks like. And then maybe you just see them later when we can get out of the quarantine, and really think about, what is your purpose? Is it to just have fun? Is it to actually create a person that you want to have a relationship with? Or is it out of a need to just numb out and consume as much as you can of whatever it is, of people, of pornography? We can talk about coping with food or with drugs. Is it to numb out? Where are you in that moment? Down here, alcohol is essential. The liquor stores are still open, so people are buying alcohol. Are you doing it because you're enjoying it, or are you doing it because you want to numb out and you don't want to be awake and you want to be woken up when this is all over? I mean, everything in moderation. And again, we talked about therapists and seeking help if you have an issue.
Right.
That becomes problematic. But pornography has always been an issue across the board, and now because kids have access to it, it becomes more concerning. But, if you're doing it for the fun or the pleasure of it, that's one thing. If you're doing it to numb out, cope, disassociate, not be present, to harm yourself or others, then there's a problem and it becomes problematic.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And because a lot of people are saying right now, I get so bored. What can I do? And I would say some things that's coming up that people are saying that we, probably like challenge ourselves, maybe learn a new skill. That's one option. I also see something around maybe creating a schedule, because sometimes, and when I say a schedule, maybe a schedule, like a concrete schedule, like get up. This is what I'm going to do throughout. This is what I'm going to do for me. This is what I'm going to do for my kids. This is what I'm going to do for whether you're working from home, and block these times out. And some days you may follow the schedule, and some days you probably won't. But it's very important to have some type of structure right now during this time, because when you don't have some type of structure, your body will force you to have structure, and that comes out probably in the arguments with loved ones. It can come out in, oh, I need to numb out. It will come out very different ways when you don't start planning and having some type of structure around how to flow. So it's very important to set that up. And I'm learning that. I've learned the hard way when I don't have structure. Even some time away from technology, some time away from the Instagram, the Facebook, the news.
So definitely, I agree. Definitely, whether it's structure or ritual or routine, building in something that helps you. So like you said, you put together a schedule. For myself, is I like that meme that talks about putting on your day pajamas and your night pajamas. Like for me, it really is like, okay, so I'm going to put on something else than what I just had on. Some people are saying like put on the makeup and, doing all this stuff. I mean, if that's the kind of person you are, where you want to put on makeup to feel good in the house, then do that. And picking something that you can either do as a routine or as a ritual. So, like for myself, it's been kind of getting up and either doing some meditation or breathing or sitting outside in the sun and just getting myself like awake and aware of what's going on. And it can be as simple as that, or giving yourself a bedtime to go to bed. Because you can stay up all night. I mean, I know that I can, and I've had nights where I'm like up till 2:00 in the morning, because I'm like, well, I mean, the time that I would have taken to get ready for work, I mean, I'm just going to put on a shirt and come to my desk right here. So just be here. But trying to give yourself something that either gives you structure, like you said, or gives you a routine, or gives you a ritual and a practice. And it can be something small. You know,
Right.
if you want it to be learn a new language or learn a new skill, do that. Or it could be, picking up some of the old things that you
Right.
would do, some of the older, healthier things that you would do that you want to incorporate back into your life, something small, because we have the time to do it.
Definitely. And I definitely agree with that. How do you suggest that people have fun, because entertain themselves? Like, what are some things that you would say that you still, despite what's going on, you still try to make some space for fun? Because we need to release. I would say, plan and be playful. So, what is it that is there anything that you suggest people can do for that, to incorporate in these interesting times?
In my household right now, we've been playing Uno. We went out to the store and we got some other games, some other board games that take us away from technology, and we've been playing that. My partner, he's been cooking more and baking more, so that's what gives him joy and happiness. And we're just walking around and being silly. My family and my friends, we could just call each other and talk. We've done happy hours as well, virtual happy hours. We've been doing that, and that's been fun. Just, making it seem like life is regular and we don't need a designated driver. So that's been really nice. And, just laugh, because sometimes you just have to laugh that, what's going on. Just be a kid again. Like, just find the joy of play as best as you can. And I know for myself, I've had technology overload. So being on the computer all day, I don't want to be on the computer. I don't want to do so. I just give myself permission to be off technology. Like, yeah, just because I'm home doesn't mean that I want you and everyone else in my space, in my virtual space in my house. And so, like, okay, let's turn off the computer. Let's do whatever we need to do.
Okay.
And, if you have board games, do that. We just need a pen and paper to do tic-tac-toe. That's fun. Or Pictionary and things like that. Is pulling us back to the times when we didn't have technology. So, but if
Right.
we play, I still have some board games. I have Sorry. I don't have Monopoly. I have Sorry, Uno, Scrabble, and something else. And, how do we do that? Do you have a deck of cards in the house where you can play spades or I Declare War or Spit or whatever? And just have fun that way, or take a piece of chalk and do some hopscotch, outside.
No, it's like getting back to basic.
Getting back to basics before we were bombarded with all this technology. I still remember those times. Do some Miss Mary Mac, or what is that? The bridge, London Bridge. I don't know, but this.
No, it's so important. Or even for me, one thing I do is, because I live alone, I will say I try to go back to even simple as watching movies. Even comedy. That definitely boosts my spirit, to just laugh at funny videos. I go out sometimes too. That helps, but it's hard. It's hard to entertain yourself, and you talk to friends and so forth. But it's still hard.
I've been reading books as well. I've been reading books like just for fun.
Reading.
Okay, I can read too, but it's difficult. Give yourself the permission to engage how you need to, and then revert back to being, quiet if you need to, or whatever. And check in on your single friends, check in on your friends who are married, a partner, because we don't know what their relationships look like.
That's true.
Just checking in with people.
Right. I know there's this, I always say this, when in these times, people that are home, some people may be in a domestic violence relationship. So I always mention the domestic violence hotline.
Mm-hmm.
Studies have shown that when unemployment goes up, so does domestic violence, inner partner violence. So the hotline is 1-800-787-3224. If you need to call and speak with someone, it's a 24-hour hotline.
Mm-hmm.
I know also in New York City, we have our own mental health hotline. Any age, they open 7 days a week, 24 hours. Different languages, you can call that NYC Well at 1-800-692-9355. You can also text them at 65173. And again, this is any age. So, it's important to know the resources that we have to support ourselves and to support those around us.
Mm-hmm. And give the child abuse hotline number as well.
I don't have it on this one, but I do have the addiction hotline, substance abuse. SAMHSA. SAMHSA definitely deal with addiction, abuse, and all that stuff. SAMHSA is 1-800-662-4357. Teenage for teenagers. Text, call, whatever, that's the hotline too, for 1-800-852-8336. And if you do have a different number, another number for abuse, definitely you can do that. Those are the ones that I were able to pick up for today.
The National Child Help for Child Abuse is 1-800-4-A-CHILD or 1-800-422-4453 as well.
Yeah, we're living in very interesting times, and just remember we have each other, and tap into the resources, and don't be afraid to ask for help. We all are going through it, like our sisters say. A lot of us, we don't have a blueprint for how to get through something like this, and it's very important to have compassion and a lot of patience and be gentle with ourselves, because we all are doing the best we can in this type of situation, and no one have all the answers, but definitely reach out to your support and connect any way that you can to some type of tribe in these times, because we all need somebody.
Mm-hmm. Even though we are physically distancing, we don't have to be alone. So,
any other thoughts you want to leave, sis?
The only other thought I would leave you with is try to, as best as you can, come out of this moment better than you walked into it. Whatever that's going to look like. That's not a challenge, but just, find something that sparks and inspires you to be your best, highest self.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we were saying even before that, think about what this time is asking us to do as individually, and also collectively. Think about that and thrive towards whatever that looks like for you individually, and also as a collective, whether it's in your family, in your community. It's very important to think about that and thrive, like you said, towards your best or highest self. And where can they find you, sis?
I'm Googleable, so you can Google me. You'll find me. But
Google Dr. Brooks, you hear?
But if anyone is interested in obtaining a master's degree in social work, Johnson C. Smith is a great historically Black institution that has a program. So that's where you can find me.
Thank you so much, sis. And you can find me. This is my YouTube. If you're looking for mental health services, check out my website, holisticlp.com. And don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe. Much love and light to you, sister. Thank you for doing
it. Peace and blessing.
Peace and much safe to you and your family and everyone.
You too.
Well,
you too,
everyone. Thank you, sis.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Take care.